Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Dr. Mohammad Sohail Khan. In this particular session, I will be talking about the dynamic environment of HRM. Before going into the details, I thought it would be easier that if I define HRM initially. HRM is a subset of management. It has five main goals. For example, HRM is responsible for attracting employees, for hiring employees, for training employees, motivating employees, and retaining employees. If we look at that particular framework, the main theoretical component of that framework comes from that employees is basically responsible for organizational's competitive edge. However, attracting employees, hiring employees, training employees, motivating and retaining employees is basically some of the other components that HRM is also doing. So in terms of attracting employees, the whole staffing mechanism basically comes into that particular umbrella. So attracting and hiring employees basically talks about human resource planning and job analysis. It also talks about recruitment. It also includes the foundation of selection in that. The trained employees basically have all the components of training and development. That basically leads from socialization, orienting employees, developing employees, also in terms of managing their careers. In terms of motivating employees, it also talks about that how organizations are motivating their employees. That also talks about the performance management system that all the organization should have at least in place, establishing the rewards and pay structures, putting some kinds of benefits for the employees. And retaining employees is basically somehow talks also about the all of the other stuff plus the safe and healthy working component. So however, in terms of understanding the cultural impact of environment on HRM, we have to see that how the businesses are operating in this arena. So for example, we have to think that whether our organization or the organization that we are talking about is basically a national organization, or the organization that we are talking about is the global organization. That also includes multinational or the international type of organization. So HRM activities differ from the national boundaries of the organization. For example, if the organization is just operating in one particular country, then the HRM activities would be really different if the organization is basically a truly global organization. So we have to think from this perspective that HRM basically impacted by the cultural environment in which the organization is basically operating. So in terms of looking at the global organization, we know that today the businesses are basically working in the global village. So we have to look at the global framework, also the multinational framework of the multinational framework, if the organization is operating in the multinational or the global environment. So what does this mean when we talk about the HRM basically impacted by the cultural environments? It means that the countries where the organization is in basically have different values, different morals, different customs, different political, economical, and legal system. So HRM is always impacted by those kinds of elements. So for example, HRM should be impacted by the cultural values of that particular country, by the morals of that country. HRM should also take account the customs in which that particular organization is operating. Also, HRM should also take care of the political system, economic system, legal system of that particular country. So all those systems basically impacted the working of the organization and consequently the HRM of that particular organization. So in short, HRM helps employees understand other countries' political and economic condition. For example, let's take an example of the pest analysis. So in terms of pest analysis basically talks about the political, economic, social and technical and the technological aspects of a particular country. So for example, if the political scenario is really unrested in a particular country, if the political scenario of any country is basically in a state of unrest, it has major implication in terms of smooth running of that particular organization in which that organization is situated. At the same time, HRM is also impacted by all those scenarios, whether it's political, whether it's economic, whether it's legal systems. So what does this really means by cultural implications for HRM? In particular sense, it means that all HRM theories and practices basically are not universally applicable. So for example, what does this mean? It means that the HRM activities that we are following or that we are using in Pakistan may or may not be applicable in UK, or that the HRM theories or practices that we are applying in UK is basically not really applicable in US. So for example, why we are saying all those things? Because there are some kinds of variables that basically comes into play that somehow either distort or impact the application of those theories into any particular organization. So for example, let's take an example of a language. So if any particular organization is just working in any specific country, let's say an example in Pakistan or in UK, so if that particular organization is working in Pakistan, so maybe they can have a business in their own language. However, if that particular organization went global or went international or went multinational organization, then the whole language component will be the different. So then we have to come up with some kind of language that is basically understandable by all the employees working in from different cultures. May it be Urdu, may it be English, may it be French, may it be Chinese, Japanese, or any kind of language that is basically applicable or understandable to the whole employees of that particular organization. Similarly, the communication dimension also talks about the multilingual workforce. So for example, we can talk about that few groups of an employee basically talks in one language and another group is basically talks about another language. However, those smaller components or those smaller communication systems can be established in particular organization. However, when we are talking about the true global organization, then we have to come up with some kind of language, a tool or the communication tool that is basically understandable to the whole world, to the whole community of that particular organization. So the global languages can be English, the global language can be Chinese, the global language can be Arabic in some way. So I'm talking about the languages that are basically understandable by most of the members of the organization. So we have to come up with some kind of communication tool or a language component that is basically understandable to the wide variety of people working in that particular organization. At the same time, there are variables that are that basically talks about the status component of the organization. That also talks about the societal or uncertainty of that particular organization. That also talks about the assertiveness or the individualism of that particular organization. So we have to think about all those cultural dimensions that basically somehow addressed the variety or the diversity of the employees that are working in any particular organization. So what does this mean when we talk about analyzing the culture of a country? So it means that we need to understand some cultural dimensions on which we can do some kind of analysis in terms of understanding the particular nature of the culture of that particular country. So in that particular session, I just included two of those tools that are basically used widely in terms of analyzing the culture of any country. So first of them is Hofstede cultural dimensions. So Hofstede's cultural dimensions basically provide us with 6 dimensions on which the culture can be analyzed. So one of that dimension is basically the power distance. So in terms of understanding the culture, one needs to understand whether that particular culture is low power distance or that particular culture is high power distance. So what does that particular culture favors or that particular country favors, whether that country favors the low power distance or the high power distance. Similarly, one of the dimensions of measuring or the analyzing the culture of a country talks about the collectivistic nature or the individualistic nature of that country. Similarly, we'll talk about the feminine and the masculine dimension. We will also talk about the low uncertainty avoidance or the high uncertainty avoidance, short-term orientation or the long-term orientation. Also, we'll talk about the restraint versus indulgence dimension of a particular culture. So all those 6 dimensions somehow tells about the nature of the culture that is being observed in any particular country. So what does this mean in terms of power distance? So power distance basically talks about the degree to which hierarchy and unequal distributions of power are acceptable. So it means that if the country is following high power distance, so it means that the status component or the differences between superiors and the subordinates are really clear in that particular culture of that country. So when we talk about the power distance, it means that we are talking about the statistical nature of that particular country, that particular country is status conscious. We can see the difference between highers and the lowers in that particular culture. The superiors and the subordinate is really evident. The difference between the superiors, the difference between the subordinates are really clear in the high power distant countries. Uncertainty avoidance. Uncertainty avoidance reflects the degree of comfort with ambiguous situation. Ambiguous situations means that the unclear situation. So the countries who are really uncertainty avoidant, it means that those countries that score higher in the uncertainty avoidance dimensions are really comfortable in unclear situation or in unclear environment. Masculinity versus femininity. So it reflects the degree to which tough and assertive behaviors is encouraged. Tough and assertive behaviors can have several dimensions as well. So tough and assertive behaviors also talks about whether the success is really regarded best in that particular country or not. It also talks about the managerial style or the leadership styles that most of the individuals really follow in that particular organization or a country. Conversely, the femininity encourages tender and nurturing behavior. So for example, masculinity favors the tough and assertive behavior, is kind of do or die kind of situation or sink and swim kind of situation. However, the femininity dimension talks about the tendering or the nurturing or the growing behavior of the leadership or the management styles that basically most of the individual opt or adopt in terms of doing or following the leadership roles. Time orientation. Time orientation talks about whether that particular country and specifically that particular organization is short-term oriented or the long-term oriented. Long-term oriented organization or the country basically talks about the future plans. They had the plans that is basically developed for the next 25 years or the 50 years. So in terms of understanding the country cultural dimension, this component is really important, whether that particular company is just talking about 1 or 3 years goal or whether that company basically talks about 25 to 50 years goal. Similarly, if we are taking the people from that kind of country, we are basically taking all those mindset of people into that particular organization. So we have to think in that dimension as well. Individualism and collectivism. So individualism reflects the degree to which personal independence is valued. Personal independence is valued means that whether that particular country allows some kind of liberty or not, or whether that particular country has the mechanism in place that basically helps an individual to grow on their own, or whether they are just dependent on others. So that particular dimension is also really important in terms of understanding the cultural nature of that particular country. The next framework that is really important is basically the globe cultural dimension. Globe cultural dimension have some kind of similar dimensions that that Hofstede cultural dimension have. However, there are a couple of differences in them. So for example, we know about the power distance in terms of how equally the power is distributed, how different you can observe the highers and the lowers of that particular culture. Uncertainty avoidance, we talks about that, how much social norms and rules reduces uncertainty on unpredictability. Institutional collectivism, we talks about that. Gender egalitarianism, basically we also talked about that in terms of feminism and the masculinity, the dimension of the country. Assertiveness, we also talks about that thing, how confrontational and dominant one should be to survive in that particular culture. Future orientation, we talks about that. Two important dimension here is performance orientation and humane orientation. So performance orientation talks about the performance oriented goals or the nature of any particular organization or any particular country. So for example, whether that country or whether the people living in that particular country are performance oriented or not, whether they have been rewarded for improvement or excellence or not, whether that particular country talks about just performance. We have to see we have to see all those dimensions in terms of working of an organization as well. So for example, whether that particular organization rewarded performance oriented people or not, whether there is another criterion for analyzing the success of that organization or not. Humane orientation is also kind of really important in terms of being kind and fair and friendly and generous behaviors, whether the leadership or the managers or even the peers of those organizations basically talks about or at least value all those traits or not, whether they value the kindness, whether they value the fairness, whether they value the friendliness and the generosity of the employees that are working in that particular organization or not. So we have to see or observe or analyze those dimensions in terms of understanding the nature or the working of that particular country. I hope that this session provides you some kind of understanding regarding what is HRM, what are the activities that are involved in HRM, what are the practices that are involved in HRM, and more specifically, how the cultural dimensions of a country basically impacts HRM practices. Thank you very much.